is Melanie Collette, your business diva. How is everyone this morning? I hope you are well. It is a beautiful day here in Cape May County, New Jersey, although it is quite chilly at 30 degrees this morning. So I'm not very happy about that. Happy Friday to everybody and TGIF. Like I said, this is Money Talk with Melanie on the Exceptional Conservative Network and SHR Media and High Plains Talk Radio. Thank you for being with us this morning. Joining us this morning will be Clyde. Riddlesbrood. With Riddlesbrood Touring Theater Company. I'm excited to have him this morning. He's the founder and owner of Riddlesbrood Touring Theater Company. And I thought we'd switch gears. It's Friday, take a little bit of a break from the national and global financial and economic scene. It's been a little brutal this week. So I thought we'd take a little break and talk about and venture into the warm and fuzzy world of the arts and entrepreneurship, and talk about financial innovation and entrepreneurship with the one and only Clyde Riddlesbrood this morning. So it should be an interesting conversation because we don't usually think much about business and theater and the arts and how entrepreneurship is related to that and actually necessary in order for the arts to thrive. So it should be an interesting conversation, and I'm actually quite looking forward to it. First, a little bit of housekeeping. If you would like to follow me on, Twitter, you can do so at MoneyTalk Mel. If you would like to like me on Facebook, you can do so at Money Talk with Melanie. Also, right now, I am on Facebook Live. So if you'd like to see this awesome yellow sweater that I'm wearing right now, you can see me on Facebook Live right now. And if you'd like to chat with me, you can also do that on Facebook Live right now. And actually on the Exceptional Conservative Network chat, you can also chat there. I'm going to post the link in one moment to chat there. So we're going to be doing all kinds of fun stuff with that. Also, if you'd like to email me, tweet me, whatever, good, bad, ugly, indifferent. Tell me that you hate my ugly yellow sweater. That's fine. At moneytalkwithmelanie@gmail.com. If you missed the show and you want to listen to it later, you can find me on YouTube. If you just do a search for Money Talk with Melanie, you'll find a show on YouTube, and actually you'll find all the previous shows on YouTube. And go ahead and subscribe to SHR Media, and you'll find all of our other really cool shows as well from the Exceptional Conservative Network and all the other shows on SHR Media. Really top quality shows. Good idea to go ahead and subscribe there so that you can listen to our shows and stay informed. So, one more thing, another housekeeping note. We've had some great guests on our show. Like I said this morning, we have the one and only Clyde Riddlesbrood from Riddlesbrood Touring Theater this morning. We've had Ebony K. Williams, Esquire, Fox News contributor. We had most recently Senator Ted Harvey from Colorado, Dr. Brooks Robinson from blackeconomics.org. If you would like to join this esteemed list of guests on Money Talk with Melanie, please do so by going to the Exceptional Conservative Network website at theexceptionalconservativeshow.com. Click on Contact Us and fill out that brief little form, or call us at 202-660-1329. Okay, that was a lot. Anyway, so what's going on in the news? Oh my. So President Trump had a little press conference yesterday. Oh goodness. oh my. Anyway, okay. I'm just gonna go through this real quick because here's the thing. See, I'm a really serious person when it comes to policy and stuff, and like the running of our government. So he's making me struggle a little bit because he's challenging my seriousness, because I have to say I'm really entertained by the left just losing their complete you know what. So and the press just going, and him driving the press crazy. So I'm feeling a little conflicted about him being himself and him driving the press crazy. I'm really enjoying that, but at the same time, I'm still like, dude, like, what are you doing? So this is what he got accomplished anyway yesterday. Yesterday, he announced his new labor secretary nominee, Alexander Acosta. I hate this. This is the part I hate, right? If he gets approved, Acosta will be the first Hispanic member of Trump's cabinet. And, it's totally, to me, it should be totally irrelevant. Like, that just makes us liberals. You know what I mean? Like, okay, so fine. Like, we check that box. It doesn't mean a whole lot, because I'll give you a perfect example. I'm a former school teacher, and they had like no black people at the entire school, right? So my boss hired me thinking that he was getting one thing because he had no black teachers at the school, and he was utterly disturbed when he found out that I was a card-carrying Republican. Okay? So, because he thought he was getting a black teacher, so of course he assumed he was getting a liberal. And he did his due diligence and checked my social media and found out I was a card-carrying Republican and lost his complete stuff. He was not happy, and I only lasted there a year because he was, like, really not happy. So, I said that to say, like, the media just puts out these narratives like, okay, yeah, now we have a Hispanic. It doesn't mean anything. Like, stop it with the identity politics. Okay. All right, I'm done. I'm going to get off my like, stop it with the racial politics soapbox now. All right. Anyway, so next week there's going to be a new executive order on immigration. Supposedly it's going to be really thorough, and we're not going to have any problems with the court. We'll see. Trump wasn't happy about the intel community, not happy about the intel community leaks, as he should not be. And he's thinking about hiring a private equity exec friend, which, like, dude, why are you saying that? To oversee and review how the intelligence agencies operate. See, now, this is the problem with him not being a politician, because normally how this would work is you would find, this is where the establishment is helpful. Normally what you would do in this situation is you would find a trusted insider. Like, why aren't you tapping, Paul Ryan or some other insider like Ryan's previous? Why aren't you finding someone on the inside that we can trust to do that for you? Like, why are you tapping some private person? I'm just saying. And I'm a private industry girl. I'm cool with that, free market and all. But this is where you need a political person. You don't need someone with a learning curve. You need someone who understands the ins and outs, and, quite frankly, the shadiness that comes along with politics. You need someone who's devious and cutthroat, because that's what this is. You need someone with no moral compass on this. I said it. Yeah, I said it. You need someone who's just as shady, because this is what this is. You need like a double agent on this. Okay, so we got a Friday fun fact for you. So I found out on one of the sites I frequent. It's called The Skim. It's just fantastic. It's like a little political site, but it gives you it presents everything in like a humorous way. That there is a wine for your cat, because why not? So you feline fans out there, you can buy wine for your cat. It's called Apollo Peak. And the good news is it's all natural, because God knows when you want to get your cat hammered, you want it to be all natural. So that's very important. So when we come back, we're going to go into our first break. And when we come back, we are going to talk to the one and only Clyde Riddlesbrood, the founder and owner of Riddlesbrood Touring Theater Company. We will be right back after this first break.
The bloviating Zeppelin. He's big-footed enough radio shows to last a lifetime, courtesy of Sean, Clint, Ken, and Jersey Joe. Now it's time for him to waddle on his own 2 feet via the glorious SHR Media. Gird thy loins for the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon, coming soon to Ossicles near you. Excelsior. Hey, it's Jersey Joe, Reamer Common Sense. You can catch me every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on shrmedia.com. That's every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, shrmedia.com.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America. Package Radio. And listen, there are no people better on the air to give you the best in conservative talk than Sackhead John and Sackhead Clint. We're working on integration papers for a certain other guy who happens to work here, too. For those who are tuning in around the world to the best late-night conservative talk, Package Radio. The best late-night conservative talk show in America. And in this web was a large, I'm pretty sure it was the biggest spider I've ever seen.
Okay, we are back. And we have with us this morning Mr. Clyde Riddlesbrood with Riddlesbrood Touring Theater Company. How are you this morning, Mr. Riddlesbrood?
Oh, very good, very good. Thank you for having me on today.
Thank you so much for being with us. I really appreciate it. I found it very, very interesting because I actually never thought about this at all, and I I actually was in every play, choir, theater growing up in high school, and I took business. I punked out in college, to be quite honest with you. But I always took it as took theater and song and song and song not song, choir. There it is. I don't know why I called it song. In college, but as a minor, because I was always interested in it. But I took business classes, as all my majors. But I never thought of marrying the two, or as the two even being remotely related. So when I saw this, I thought I really wanted to talk to you about entrepreneurship and the arts and how it relates. So please do tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell the audience a little bit about yourself and about entrepreneurship in the arts on a theoretical, philosophical perspective, if you would.
Sure. Well, again, one of the biggest things that I think some people have a misinformation about with the arts is everybody always assumes that when you're talking about theater, that you're talking about, I guess you'd say, a highly liberal, maybe very, very left-leaning kind of artistic thing where, there's dancing and there is considered high culture, but that's not all of the arts, and certainly that's not all of theater. And as a touring theater, we kind of drift a little bit more towards, I guess what you'd say, stand-up comedy or circuses or more wild entertainment that's meant for the general masses, not something that's intended to communicate any morals or lessons. So that's one of the biggest things that some people are surprised when they talk to me is that, oh, wait a minute, you aren't actually an extremely liberal theater company. That's unusual. That's different. And the reason is if you really want to talk about the philosophy behind it, is there is a little bit of a barrier, an ideological barrier between, I guess, being very, very liberal and on one hand, and being extremely artistic on another, because to be freely able to express yourself, you need to be free. But of course, if you're tied down with a certain ideology, you're really not supposed to certain things. There's certain things verboten, certain things that you're not supposed to say. So when you're trying to be funny and trying to be comical on stage, you need to be free to say pretty much anything that might be funny. And that is one of the things that we do.
That is an excellent point. I never thought about it that way. So in other words, liberty and freedom really has a direct connection to theater and the arts, if it's going to be done correctly. If I'm understanding what you're saying.
Yeah, well, just like anything, theater or painting or music or anything can be used as a tool to propagate a certain belief system or certain ideology. But people that are in the arts that really want to express their own unique ideas that don't fit into any particular ideology, they really need to be able to have complete freedom. And it's kind of interesting that in this day and age, we kind of live in a unusual period where, making jokes of different types would be considered bad, and you're not supposed to say that. And even though it may be ignoble to say certain things, or maybe it's not always polite, humor at its very essence is pointing at truth that people know but don't always say. And that's part of the reason why people still like dirty jokes, even though they wouldn't say that to their mom,
What are dirty jokes? I'm completely unfamiliar with what you're talking about. I have no...
Well, let's take a safe thing. Let's just say sex. If you were to talk about sex. Now, everybody doesn't always get out there and say dirty jokes about that because it would be considered impolite. But if you watch a stand-up comic, they'll get up there and say unbelievably raunchy things.
Absolutely.
And we'll get big laughs. Now, that's just one type of humor, but that's an example of they're getting laughs. People are responding to it and having fun because these are things that they know are true, but they're not supposed to say.
Absolutely.
At least not in public.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. You're 100% correct. So what do you, gosh, I'm so glad I'm having this conversation. So what do you account for? How do you account for, especially since you're on the inside, how do you account for the rampant liberalism inside the arts. How do you account for that? How does that happen? What happens there?
Well, I think the main difference is see, for us, we're a touring theater company, but we're a for-profit theater company. So we're a business. Our job is to go out there and entertain people at private parties or events or fundraisers or company parties. So, our mission is just to have people have a great time and have a great entertainment for their dollar. So we don't have any political agenda. We don't have any moral agenda. So that frees us from having to have that. But some arts organizations are not-for-profit, and they may be getting grants or they may be getting funds from organizations or the government in order to have a specific political aim or agenda.
There it is.
So that is one of the reasons why we don't have to worry about that.
There it is. Follow the money. I was just having this discussion with a guest the other day.
That's probably the biggest one. Now, understand too, I'm not necessarily knocking people that have a passion about a certain thing and are willing to go out in the world and make it happen.
Sure.
So if your thing is gay rights or something like that, and you really, really feel passionate about that, and you want to go out there and make shows, fine. I see nothing wrong with that. That's fine. The problem that we run into sometimes is the obstacles that are placed in your path if you want to propagate something unpopular.
Right.
And that sometimes is the downside of that. In this world that we live in of competing narratives.
Right.
So that's the unfortunate thing. On one hand, you want people to be able to be passionate about saying the things they want to say, but you shouldn't also go around and tell other people you can't say what they're saying.
Right. And that's what I mean. Like there is a financial impact these days. If you say something that is unpopular, I mean, and it is most evident recently with our current president. I mean, it seems to me that our celebrities have gone completely off the deep end with this president, and completely off the deep end in that they are bullying other celebrities. If they even perform at a presidential event or they say anything positive about our president, then they are bullying that celebrity and trying to take revenue away from that celebrity. And to me, that's inherently wrong.
They're trying to damage somebody. They're trying to hurt somebody because their belief system isn't the same thing as theirs. And the problem with that is, whether you think it's right or wrong, the fact of the matter is people should be able to have the freedom to express those things, and that's what this country was founded on. But some people don't care. They only want to win. They only want their side to win, and they're willing to do anything in order to do that. And that's really where the line should be drawn. They shouldn't be able to go that far.
Right. That's what I was going to ask you is like, why, like, because I assume you're around these people and like what the thought process was that they felt it like, are they so high on the mantle of righteousness? Like they just feel as though they're so right in their position that it's okay to do that. Is that what it is?
Not really. Actually, in my normal experience hanging out with a lot of actors of different types and shades and different things, the reality is in the entertainment, I guess in the acting world,
Did I lose you? Uh-oh, did I lose you? Let me see.
Hello?
Oh, hello? I think I lost you.
Oh, yeah, that was weird. I got that. Something happened there.
Oh, yeah, I just heard you say in the acting world. That was the last thing I heard you say.
Oh, yeah. In the acting world, there's a certain, I guess you'd say, correct thought. there's a certain way and behavior that you're supposed to exhibit. And if you don't do that, you may have some problems getting gigs or getting jobs. So I would say a lot of the actors may not really be hardcore ideologues for the left, but they present themselves that way because it's better for their career. So there's that set that pretty much just go along with it. But then there's also some people that really are very, very passionate about certain things. And then there's other people that may be liberal in some ways, but they don't like liberalism when it stops them from saying truthful things or things that they like to say. So they tend to be liberal up until that point, and then they say, "Well, I'm still going to say this."
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that, because every time I hear and see that, I'm just like, do they understand we live in America? Like, I don't get that. Like, I don't understand that. Like, we still live in America. Like, how self-important are you? Like, what, I don't get that. And, like, I truly don't, like, and I consider myself to be relatively intelligent. And I don't, and I don't get that thought process. Like, I don't, like, how do you figure you can impose your thinking on someone else to the point where you can take away someone's livelihood and force them to think like you in our country?
It's also very funny because in the past, I guess you'd say the moral right wing was always accused of doing the same thing. They were saying, "Oh, you're trying to make everybody
Yes.
Christian," or you're always trying to proselytize people about, being prudish, or
Yes.
women should do this. But now they find themselves in the unusual position of doing the same thing.
Yes.
But just in the reverse. They're very quick to think they have a monopoly on rightness.
Yes.
Which that's where they go too far.
Yes. And that's what I find to be most bizarre about it, is that they are completely blind to the fact that they are doing the exact same thing that they accuse us of. And that's the part that I don't like. I really don't get. I'm like, how can you be in such a complete and total state of denial about, like, it's okay. Like, okay, you're all about diversity of thought as long as it's your thought. I'm like, do you understand that is absolutely the antithesis of diversity of thought? Like, as long as it's not.
They lose all high ground there. That's where they lose. Then they're just, and it's really any side. But when they start looking at it as a team sport, where it's just about the red team's got to win, and we'll use any argument that will help us in this instant, and then at the next instance, we'll literally use the opposite argument if it serves us. That's where you lose your moral high ground now. Now you're not really about truth, and you're not really about openness or free speech. You're really just about your side, and you'll use that only when it matters. And that's the line that I think you shouldn't cross.
Absolutely. And I have a really, I struggle with that regularly. About that whole set of people, and particularly, like you said, when you cross the line into affecting someone's livelihood, affecting someone's pocketbook, that is when I particularly have an issue. That's fine. You want to give an interview and say that you disagree. All right, that's all good. That's fine. Free country. But when you are starting to campaign against that person, and you're conducting boycotts, and and you're freezing people out of getting work, that you're crossing a line. That's not cool. It's not right. So I don't think it's right anyway. You're basically blacklisting people. That is just wrong. I think.
And isn't it funny how not too long ago you would always hear the liberals lionizing people that were quote unquote communists and socialists back in the 60s, and then they were saying, you would blacklist directors and blacklist writers, and they would say that you're a communist, and then because you were that, they labeled you that way, you weren't allowed to get work. And they really said how unjust that was.
Right.
But now, for some reason, they're completely okay with using those very same tactics on people that they don't like. And again, that's where they lose the moral high ground. You can't on one hand say, hey, it's bad to label people as communists and then not let them get in the movie, but it's okay for us to do that today to you.
Right.
And that's the problem.
But what I feel like I hear them saying, when I hear them defend themselves, is that, well, it's because you all are fascists. It's because you all discriminate. And when I read between the lines, what I hear is, it's because you're wrong and we're right.
Well, that's basically what it is. Yeah, they're saying, and nobody has a monopoly on right and wrong because it cuts through everything. Sometimes truth is uncomfortable.
Right. And I'm like, okay, but then we get back to diversity of thought. Like we're back to diversity of thought then, because diversity means differences. So we're back to we think differently. So if you're going to say that we need to that we as conservatives need to allow your differences in thought, then that needs to work both ways. That needs, you need to reciprocate. Like you can't have that and then and then not allow us to have that. But your thought is bigotry. Well, no, it's not. And if you took 2 seconds to listen to us, you would understand it. So God's a bigot because we believe in a Bible. That means we're bigots. We're only
well, that's the problem. Like for instance, when you're getting back to theater, we are in an unusual position because when we go to do our job is to stand in front of a bunch of strangers and try to change their emotional state from being bored to being happy. Right? So
right.
In order to do that, you have to persuade people and hit emotional strings on their instrument of their mind. And in order to do that, sometimes, you approach things that maybe they might not be comfortable talking about. But in the context of a show, there's like an unspoken authority that an entertainer has to say and do things that they might not do if they're standing in line at a McDonald's or something, So there is the thing that can sometimes be a challenge with the world that we live in, because, what was okay to say before is somehow frowned upon to say now. And you have to be careful about exactly where you step. And sometimes that line is different depending on the demographic, depending on the audience,
sure.
Depending on their age, depending on the venue. So you have to really be very, very cognizant of what's appropriate and acceptable and what's not acceptable.
And maybe the unspoken license is the fact that you're in character. So the license is, it's not necessarily you personally saying it, but you have all of these barriers in between you and the audience, right? You have the writing, you have the directing, you have the character that you're in, right? You have the mannerisms, the emotion that you're tapping into in order to develop the character. You have all of these things that you're tapping into when you're conveying the character to the audience. So you can tell I've had acting classes, right? So you can tell I've had method acting 1. So you have all of these barriers between you and the audience, and so that kind of allows you to not take personal responsibility for what's coming out of your mouth and for what it is that you're doing on stage. So it's okay because it's not you,
right?
It's the character.
Well, the funny thing is it has become a bad word to say, and that word is the word stereotype. You hear the word stereotype, and that is automatically a very bad thing, right?
Yes.
Because you don't want to say that. You don't want to quote-unquote stereotype people. But if you take that and really boil it down, you realize that the idea of stereotyping is pretty much what every human being does in every facet of their life.
110%.
In other words, when you think of anything, even if you're putting toys away, you might put the small toys in the small bin, and you put the big toys in the big. It's just simple mental categorization.
Sure.
But there's a point at which it gets too far and is considered bad. The question is at what point do you draw the line and say that that's not good? And I think we've gone to a hypersensitive place where, for instance, in one of our shows, we have a character that's like a chef. And he has basically like a really big, fat chef. And he has a big chef hat. And he's ridiculous. It's very, very silly. And I would say it's funny like 99% of the time. But every once in a while, we'll get somebody that'll say or write down on a sheet, you're making fun of Italian people.
Oh, gosh.
Or you're making fun of fat people. Or, whatever. Or people will really get very, very sensitive about it. But the problem is there's a limit. After a certain amount of time, if you're that sensitive, well, you're making fun of Irish people. I mean, it's like, really?
But you know what that is?
Really?
That's really their perception, not yours.
Right.
That's really what that is.
The funny thing is really the answer is just for people to just have a sense of humor and be a little bit more tolerant.
For people to relax.
The reality is there are certain things that might be funny. And honestly, the funny thing is like to give you an example, we sometimes do a group and there might be a lot of gay people in the audience. Well, believe it or not, they actually get a kick if we have a gay character in it. So the gay guy will walk out and go, hello, everyone, and do stuff like that, and they love it.
Absolutely.
They like it.
Listen, what makes...
But if you do a gay character, say, in front of a group where there's no gay people, but there's a lot of liberal people in the audience, they'll react totally the opposite. They'll be like, oh, you're making fun of gay people.
Oh.
So it just goes to show you how, it's like they're offended even though it's not even offending the target class, I suppose.
Absolutely.
So it's just this moral indignation, this feeling of moral superiority that is really a problem.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. We have to go into our next commercial break. When we come back, we're definitely going to talk about money, but this conversation was too good. I couldn't stop myself. We'll be right back in a couple of minutes. We're on with Mr. Clyde Riddlesbrood from Riddlesbrood Traveling Theater. Fantastic conversation. We'll be right back. I promise you, we're going to talk about entrepreneurship in the arts and talk about how to get some money for the arts. In a few minutes, we'll be right back.
You are listening to the Exceptional Conservative Network. For more information, go to www.theexceptionalconservative.com.
From the warfront to the streets of our nation's capital, men of faith, Dr. Michael Jones, the underground professor, and Kenneth McClinton, the exceptional conservative, bring both constitutional gravitas and spiritual perspective on today's issues to the most influential Christian urban talk show, 9:05 p.m. Eastern, Thursdays. It's a new day on New Day, Black and Red. Power brokers use corrupt politicians, deceptive Islam, and lies from establishment media to turn the once shining city on a hill into the city of the blind. What do the elites fear? One man with a cane. I'm Dave Miller. Join me at SHR Media, High Plains Talk Radio, Spreaker, iTunes, and YouTube for a different kind of commentary on the unpleasant blind guy. Because truth is not always pleasant.
The bloviating Zeppelin. He's Bigfooted enough radio shows to last a lifetime, courtesy of Sean, Clint, Ken, and Josie Joe. Now it's time for him to waddle on his own 2 feet via the glorious SHR Media. Gird thy loins for the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon, coming soon to obstacles near you. Excelsior.
Okay, we are back with the one and only Clyde, Clyde Riddlesbrood. He is the founder and owner of Riddlesbrood Touring Theater Company. Before we move on to talk about entrepreneurship in the arts, I wanted to make sure that I mentioned you have a book, correct? Called Riddlesbrood.
Oh, yes.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes,
Tell us about the book.
Yes, we do. It's called The Greatest Brochure in the World. And it's a very fun, very unusual, very cool fantasy story about the theater company. And it kind of goes off into a very supernatural direction. So it's kind of like, imagine if this theater company were a very, very unbelievable fantasy adventure. So if you're the kind of person who likes Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter or things like that, you'd probably get a kick out of this book.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And we give it away as a prize to people that come to the show. And when they solve, we do a lot of murder mystery shows, which are very fun and interactive. And when the audience decides who they think the killer was in our shows, we give out a prize and we give out this book, which is a fun thing. A lot of the actors will sign it and stuff, so it's cool.
I'm going to have to come out and see you because you're actually one of the few guests that I have that are local near me because I'm right here in Cape May County. So,
okay.
Yes, I'm right here in Cape May County.
We're all over New Jersey, Eastern Pennsylvania. Sometimes we have a show, believe it or not, that's very easy up in Manasquan. So.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to have to check you out. My sister loves like Lord of the Rings and that kind of stuff. So I'm going to have to maybe treat her and come check you guys out. She would love something like that. So I'm going to have to check you guys out. That's fantastic. I want to ask you very specifically about how artists can become entrepreneurs and stop looking for patrons, because I know I have tons of friends who are involved in theater, who love it, especially when I was taking classes and stuff. I have tons of friends who are still involved. I actually did it because I became a teacher, and I had horrible stage fright, and I'm also involved in politics, and it just helps you a lot with public speaking, which is part of the reason why I took some more classes. So I have tons of people who are still really involved, and that's just one of the struggles that they have is always raising money. So looking at it from an entrepreneurial perspective is really helpful. So how can artists do that?
Well, I would say the very first thing that if you're an artist, depending on what it may be, painting or acting or whatever, of course, we're all actors in this particular industry. But I would say the very first thing that they need to realize is that, you can always be an artist and you don't necessarily have to be a business. So the first thing is just make sure that you know what you want to be and what the price that you're willing to pay to get to where you want to be is. So, for instance, if you're a great sculptor and you can make these unbelievable statues, well, okay, then you're an artist. Even if nobody ever buys one, you're an artist. you've achieved. You've expressed yourself creatively. So you're an artist there. But when you want to put a rope around it and charge people to see your sculptures, now you're a business. So understand the difference. You're not, just because you're an artist doesn't mean you're entitled to make a bunch of money doing what you love to do. If you want to be a business, you have to turn your creativity toward serving some kind of public need. There has to be a demand for what you're doing. So that means that, maybe you love to make sculptures of cats, but if, that's not selling, then you need to be able to turn your creativity to make sculptures of, vampires, if that's really the end thing right now. So that's the first thing that sometimes artists struggle with, is the realization that, well, maybe I don't want to use my creativity to create, cats. Because I don't like cats, but for some reason everybody wants to buy cats. Well, that's the tricky part that some artists have, whereas they realize that they may not very well want to create the kind of art that might be purchased or people would pay to see.
Okay.
And that's where we are as a theater company. We create shows and entertainment that are designed for people to come and see. Like we do popular murder mystery shows that have popular themes like pirates or medieval or Victorian melodrama, something that people want to go see. If we created our murder mysteries around drug addiction in the inner city, guess what? There's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
But people probably wouldn't want to go pay for that for a nice night out.
Yeah, that's not exactly cheery. And
well, again, there's nothing. If you really feel like you want to create that show, by all means, go out and create it. You're an artist, even if no one comes to see the show. But you're not a business, because a business wouldn't do that.
Okay.
So that is really the thing that people need to understand, is that if you want to do that, you have to think like a business person, not like just an artist.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So, in other words, you have to make that transition, so to speak.
Right. You have to be able to turn what you're doing into something that you can sell, something that people want to buy. And that's why we don't need to get grants. We're not supported that way. We sell our shows and people pay for us to come and entertain their groups. But that's because we create the kind of entertainment that people want to see, not say they want to see, but don't actually go see. Got it.
That makes an absolute ton of sense. Now, so people who there are tons of artists, and usually, these are your people that we were talking about at the outset, right? These are your usually your far left millennials that go to school for their master's degree and method acting, not thinking like, gee, what if I don't make it? Maybe I should have a backup plan. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, but don't think about the entrepreneuring aspect of that. And entrepreneuring can be an art in and of itself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And maybe...
Well, again, see, I consider myself an actor and a writer, but the reality is I'm an entrepreneur. I spend 95% of my time making cold calls, or working on search engine optimization, or making brochures, or making graphics, or, trying to go to meetings and sales calls. So we spend most of our time selling and a very small percentage of our time creating art. So, you really have to think along those lines. And if you're not willing to do that, if you don't want to do that, then you're going to have a problem. You might just have to say you're a hobbyist and not a business person.
There you go. And when I was doing research for the show, I found that more and more theater programs are offering something called business theater. because, you know, what you're saying is true, and I guess now theatrical programs are beginning to realize what you have already realized, is that there's a need for maybe these for, you know, artists to make money. Because, like, you kind of need to eat. And so now they're offering these business theater programs, and they're adding, you know, entrepreneurship, things like, accounting and how to do a business plan and how to fundraise and things like that to the theater programs, so that you're able to do that along with your acting and your arts skills, so to speak.
Well, there's a lot of things about the arts and acting particularly, which is what, you know, what I'm focused in, that can really be a big help to entrepreneurs in general, even if you're not involved in this. So, for instance, every entrepreneur, whether you're selling, a workout video, or you're selling an accounting service, or you're a plumber, or you wrote a book, whatever it may be, you still have to have control of these basic things like personality, or branding, or public speaking, or just being confident when you're speaking to customers. All those things are very important, and all those things can be honed by working in theater.
Yes.
Because when you become very comfortable in your own skin and can stand in front of hundreds of people and crack jokes and persuade them and get your emotion into them so that they're feeling what you're trying to get them to feel, that's called sales.
Absolutely. And acting,
these are all very powerful things that people can take away.
Absolutely. Acting is one of the most therapeutic things that you can ever do. Forget laying on a couch. Go to method 1 acting. I'm telling you, that is, I mean, I don't know if you agree with me or not, but I found method 1 acting more powerful than any therapy session. Because
you're getting in touch with things that normally you repress.
Right. Exactly. Precisely. And you're right. I mean, politicians, people would probably not be shocked to learn that many politicians go to acting classes.
Well, because that's how they learn how to, stand up and have confidence to get up there and be a show person.
Yeah.
And that's part of the reason why, you see a lot of that very gradated field that goes between entertainment and politics, because in some ways you're doing the same thing. In order to get people's attention, you need to be a shining object first.
Yep.
Otherwise, why listen to you?
Yeah, you very generously described what they do. How can our audience get in touch with you if they wanted to get in touch with you or your theater group, or get tickets to any of your shows?
Sure. Well, the first thing, again, to remember is, even though we're talking about all these different philosophical things, at the end of the day, Riddlesbrood Theater Company is out there to have fun. So if you have a company party or a fundraiser for your church or your group or whatever it may be, or even if you just have a birthday party, family reunion, or anything like that, and you're looking for somebody to come in, then that's exactly what we do. We can travel around to any bank facility, restaurant, theater, even in your office, or even in a fire hall, and we set up and we perform a great, funny, comical, interactive show for your group. And it's very easy, very turnkey, and our prices are very, very competitive. You can take a look at us on Riddlesbrood.com, and you'll see all the shows and all the prices and everything right there.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate you being on the show, and I hope you'll come back and see us here on Money Talk with Melanie. Thank you so much. And
have a great day.
Thank you. You too. Remember, everyone, I hope to see you on Monday. I appreciate you being with us. Thank you for listening. Remember, this is important because it is your money. Thanks so much.